Ladies and gentlemen, this is Hit Play. That was my best Michael Buffer voice impression. Didn't really work that well. Anyways, welcome to Hit Play. We're back another week, another beautiful, sunny, hot.
Far too sunny, far too hot
week. We did get some rain though a couple days ago. That helped.
Our power went out.
Our power did go out.
Overnight,
I was gonna talk to you about that. Yeah, we haven't seen each other in like 3 days. It feels like so. We're catching up on camera. This week, in the spirit of multiple sports events going on, we got NBA playoffs, motorsports across multiple continents are either in full swing or grinding down or gearing down, I should say.
NHL playoffs, the
NHL
best sport.
playoffs. Baseball's back at it again. NFL draft just happened, which is a thing that I enjoy. Anyways, yeah, a lot of things going on. So we decided, hey, we haven't done a genre study in a hot minute. Let's do another genre study about sports, which is a genre, I'll just admit, is probably the most watched genre of movies that I think I've probably watched, unless you like drama. Is like the broad drama.
I feel like you've probably seen The Godfather enough times that outweighs.
Yeah, you're probably
that's a bit of an
right.
outlier.
You're probably right.
Gangster movies up there.
You might be right. Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Gangsters is like number 2 or 3. So I enjoy a good sports movie now and then. They are probably the most tropey of all genres. In fact, we have a whole list of, TV. Yes. What is it? TV tropes? Or what is it?
So if you aren't familiar with the website TV Tropes, it is both an incredible resource and a horrible rabbit hole to jump into and waste time on.
Yeah, James sent me the link for sports tropes, and I was probably reading it for like an hour of just like going through each trope and being like, oh, I remember it from this movie and this movie and this movie. Very, very interesting tool. I'll say that much.
But sports movies definitely rely the heaviest on cliches.
Yeah. For sure.
So the way we're going to structure this episode is, instead of talking about the individual movies, we're going to first talk about the tropes that are apparent in these movies. Because for as common as they are, a lot of the extremely popular sports movies actually either subvert or outright avoid these tropes in general.
Which is why
they're good.
A lot of my favorite movies that are sports movies are my favorite, because they're just something different. Yeah. Like, how many times are we going to see, a coach bring up a team? Like, Ben Affleck came out with a basketball movie a couple years ago, and I was like, I've seen this like 6 times already. What is different about this? Oh, Ben Affleck's an alcoholic. Okay. I guess that's different, but not really.
His character.
But yeah, anyways, let's continue with the tropes.
Yes. So, spoiler alert for everything that we talk about.
Yes, that should be a warning.
Yes, that should be a warning.
If you like any sports movie, yeah.
We'll try to keep this not obscure either. So these are probably going to be movies that you have access to watch. Yeah.
But also, a lot of sports movies are based on real lives.
Yes.
So like,
but we're not doing documentaries.
Really spoilers? Yeah. No documentaries here.
Yeah. Although there are some fantastic sports documentaries, though. We'll include a list of those at the end.
Shout out to Last Dance.
Last Dance, Hoop Dreams.
Shout out. Anyways.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So the most common trope, I think, across the entire genre is building up to a climactic final game at the end of the movie. That is probably the one thing required of you in a sports movie. Whether it's based off of a real event, which is understandable because, this is the underdogs who won the championship.
Sure.
Or if it's a fictional one, because stories about underdogs who win championships are pretty engaging. Do you have a favorite big game at the end of a movie?
So I'm going to meme my answer here. I'm going to say Space Jam as a joke, but also fits the trope to a T. But no,
I mean,
unironically, I think my favorite is always going to be Friday Night Lights. I think just the story of those guys and what they did and like the pressure that they faced to come to get where they were and to the story of like how their homes are broken or they have so much dreams riding on this last season. They want to they want to go to college, they want to make it to the league, they just want to find a job, whatever. And then like it's like if we win state, that's it. Like nobody can take that from us, and then they just don't.
Yep. They snatched defeat from the jaws of victory.
And I think that's why so many people hold it in such high self-esteem, because it's like they don't win. Because before Friday Night Lights, and I'm sure there's some obscure movie out there that breaks this, but the underdog always wins. From like
regardless of it that's happened before Friday Night Lights was made, that's just the expectation I think most people want to see is we're going to follow the underdog because we want to see you win. And anytime you can subvert that, it feels bad, but Friday Nights does it very well.
Yeah, because they learn that it's not all about football. It's not all about the wins and losses. It's just the pride of pushing. I mean, the intermission speech, which is another trope that we'll get to, is literally the coach saying like, "Hey, I've been riding you guys' asses all year, and I want to let you know that I'm proud of you." I'm paraphrasing here, but that's in essence what he's saying is, as long as you give your all for the rest of the game, no matter what the score is, nobody can ever take what we tried to do.
It's about looking each other in the eye and knowing that you're brothers. Isn't that what he says?
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's like,
shout out to Billy Bob Thornton.
I tried, what is it? I've been asking you to be perfect. What does perfect mean? Whatever. He's like, perfect means perfect effort. And I was like, oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's what we need more of. It's not, if you win, you win. You lose, whatever. But just the pride, I think.
Yeah. I think Friday Night Lights is also my answer for my own question. However, I feel like the TV show does it a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean the TV show does a lot better, to be fair.
What I appreciate about like the franchise of Friday Night Lights though is it just such a good job of showing how football, like it's not a sports movie, and even when I was rewatching it, I was like, this feels like a documentary. Yeah. Because so much emphasis is placed not on football as a sport, but on football as an escape for these kids from poverty or racism or just horrible family and abuse. Yeah. And them losing the game at the end in the manner that they do as well. It's like
another TV trope.
Yeah. It's one of those things where like you feel sorry, but because the movie has done such a good job of establishing that it's not about winning, it's about what the sport means to these people. Yeah. That you understand, like it's bittersweet in a way. You're like, yes, you didn't win, but also you still accomplished your goal of being accepted and making people proud of you for coming so far. You're still losers, but and my favorite part about that movie too is at the very end where they do like where are they now thing, and it's like next season they went undefeated and won the state championship. And it's like that's the big red flag of this isn't about winning, guys.
This is about the story.
Yeah, this is about the people in this town.
Yeah.
However, not every movie has a big game in it.
No.
And my favorite example of that is Moneyball, which has multiple big games in it.
Well, there's like multiple moments. There's like multiple, because the baseball season's a long season. So there's multiple like, I mean, even just watching baseball, just keeping up with it live, you can see kind of stretches. And I think that's what Moneyball does the best, is showing that
the undefeated streak,
long season, but also giving us like the perfect like little
encapsulation.
Almost like, thank you. Of like what makes this season so special. Kind of comes to a head with the streak montage, which, by the way, is one of the greatest montages, not only in sports movies, but just in movies in general. That is my favorite. From the montage all the way until Hatterberg, when Star-Lord hits the home run, I'm just like, this is art. Shout out to this.
Shout out to Chris Pratt.
But yeah, I think the lack of a big game in Moneyball is. I mean, it's obviously it's intentional. It was a real life thing.
Because it's one of those things where it's based on a true story. They lost in the playoffs.
Yes.
So they're not going to have,
the big game.
World Series.
They didn't actually
game.
lose in the World Series. Yeah. They didn't even make it out of the first round. But that just shows that, like, I mean, it helps that case because baseball is such a weird sport where you can win 110 games and lose the first 3 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because it's just so kooky and everything. And that was the point of Moneyball was, this system gives us a chance. But at the end of the day, baseball's baseball. And that's why we love baseball, because literally anything can happen in baseball. And that's kind of the whole thing with Moneyball is just the weirdness of baseball and how there's so many different ways to get to your end objective. And it's also very anticlimactic because it's literally like landscape shot, Detroit Stadium, Comerica Park, shout out Comerica. And then it's pop fly, caught, game over. It's like, what? We didn't even see the actual game. We didn't see, like, I don't know, anything. We just see, like, a pop fly and it's over.
Yeah.
And then it's Brad Pitt crying in his, I think he's in his car in the office or something. He's in his car. Yeah. He's in a parking lot. It's just like, oh, that's interesting that there's not a final, like, Friday Nights Lights-esque final game. It's just kind of over.
Although Moneyball is a unique example because so many sports movies are about the players, and this is about the executives. Yeah, it's about the managers. Which the only other one I can think of is a Kevin Costner movie called Draft Day.
Shout out Draft Day. Pancake eating motherfucker. I love that movie. People shit on that movie. I love that movie.
No, my dad recommended it to me. He loves that one too. That's like the only other one I can think of, though. I don't know many other stories about the behind. Okay, there's I think the movie Invictus, which was a Matt Damon movie.
Yeah, that was that Morgan Freeman too. I remember that one. The rugby, South African rugby. I remember that one.
And then there was another one about rugby, about a high school team. The name completely escapes me, but it was about the coach who had like the highest percentage winning streak in all of high school sports. Yeah. But as Moneyball is not even from the perspective of the players, it's from the perspective of the management. The focus being on the performance of the team, it's actually like on the sidelines. Yeah. Like the real story of Moneyball is his fight with the owners of the team to be able to manage it in his way. It's almost like every now and then they'll show a clip from the game. That's not even like part of the story.
It's his revolution against the old guard of baseball.
Using
which
stats.
Which is you think about it now, and I read the book and I was like, why weren't we doing this like 50 years ago? But it's just because we are, as human beings, we don't like change, and it's interesting to see that put on the big screen in a way where
not only
just
that,
like literally F you, go find a new job.
And it's one of those things too where it's like it's not that we rejected change, it's that we didn't know how to make that change. And that's where Jonah Hill comes in. Shout out Jonah Hill's character.
Is this Jonah Hill's best performance?
This or Wolf of Wall Street?
It's definitely top 2. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Is it Brad Pitt's best performance? It's either this or Fight Club.
You think Fight Club is up there?
What else would you say? Ad Astra? Troy?
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
They are pretty good in Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I'll give them that.
I don't know.
Oceans? Right. I guess the Oceans movies. Okay, Okay, I could see it.
I'm a big fan of A River Runs Through It. That's a classic one for me. All right. So the big game. You can have it. You cannot have it. You can do whatever you want with it.
It is there, though.
But it's not entirely necessary.
Bad News Bears is another one that does it where it's the underdogs don't win.
Yeah. Same with Cars.
And it's similar to the Friday Night Lights where I almost didn't catch that. It's similar to the Friday Night Lights where it's like, yeah, we belong here and we're proud of what we did. Mm-hmm. And we'll see you guys next year. Literally the last word spoken on screen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, shout out Bad News Bears. It's been a minute.
Shout out Cars.
Shout out Cars. Good job.
All right. So here's a trope that annoys me, and that is the career-ending injury.
Hmm.
And this happens. I see this in every single football movie ever.
Yeah.
Shout out to Friday Night Lights. Shout out to
Both the TV show and the movie.
Yep. We Are the Titans? Is that what it's called?
We Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans. Shout out to that one. They have that as well.
Yes,
the guy gets
they
in the
do.
car
I
accident.
do. I was thinking
Yep.
about it right now. Yeah.
Shout out to the Tooth Fairy, the Dwayne the Rock Johnson movie.
Shout out Lightning McQueen. Cars.
Cars as well.
Cars and Cars 3.
Does that happen in Cars 3?
Yeah, well, it's not it's kind of an injury. He comes back and then he decides not to race in it anymore at the end.
Shout out to Raging Bull.
Yes, Raging Bull, good one. Shout out
Here's what bothers me. It's so common, but there's hardly any way that you can really subvert it.
yeah, cuz it's going to happen.
Funnily enough, Moneyball does with Chris Pratt's character.
Oh, when they convert him to from
He's
catcher
a first
to first baseman.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. Tell him, Walsh. It's extremely hard.
Anything in life is worth doing is such a good scene. But that is the only example I can think of a movie that does that differently.
Where it changes it up.
Because they're taking somebody who already had a career-ending injury off screen and bringing him back to say, well, actually, you can do this other thing for us.
Yeah.
But I can't think of another example.
And it's the reason I think it's most popular is just because it's so easy. Like it's straight up conflict, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to come back from this. What is stopping me? My hamstring is stopping me. And it's an internal conflict. Screenwriters love internal conflicts. And it's just a basic fundamental opposition to our protagonist. And that's why it's in everything, and that's why at times, like you said, it's annoying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I personally, I don't know.
It's one of those things, too, where so many of these stories are based on real events that I feel bad being mad at it for that.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, yes, this had to have happened in real life, but also I've seen this so many times. Can you just stop injuring yourselves, please?
Just take a steroid shot. It's no big deal. Everybody does it.
There is my dad, shout out to him or you, since I know you're watching this.
Shout out.
Recommended to me a movie called Slapshot, which was a Paul Newman movie from the 70s, directed by the same guy who did Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Shout out.
And The Sting, both of them Paul Newman movies. And it's a movie about these three brothers who join the hockey team as kind of like these big goons who just run around and body check people and punch them down. And it's hilarious to me, the fact that in the 70s in hockey, that was basically what you were trying to do to win, was injure people as often as possible.
Yeah.
And there are so many shots throughout the movie where these guys are like, they're like listening to the national anthem and they have like blood running down their face. And it's like, yeah, you just continue playing. But like the idea that you would then like have to sit out the rest of the season for your injury is like, not to say that it's uncommon, but there's just a different mentality there that, and that movie is partially based off of true story, partially not based on a true story, but because they used like real hockey players in that movie who were on the teams that the story is supposedly based off of. It's just, it happens way too often.
Rocky, one of the Rockies does a good job of it.
I've only seen Rocky 1.
Because he hurts his eye. If I'm remembering correctly, I think he hurts his eye. Let me see. Rocky 2. Yeah, so he hurts his eye from the first fight. And he like overcomes that eye injury. And actually, I think, does he beat Apollo in that one? I don't think he beats Apollo in that one. Because he doesn't beat Apollo in the first one, right?
No.
So I think he does beat Apollo in the second one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. It's been such a long time since I've seen any of those.
Speaking of Rocky, though, another trope I want to talk about is the idea of how much we love underdogs and how they never lose.
And it all started with Rocky.
And Rocky is a perfect example.
Yeah. Which is why people hold in such self-esteem, because it's like we had never seen an underdog story at least on the screen, that was that captivating.
Mm.
And it just kind of paved the way for like, all right, every sports movie now needs to have an underdog. We can't have,
I would argue Rocky's biggest contribution was it was a lot more personal than
the 2002 Yankees just blowing everybody out of the water. Or I guess 99 Yankees.
Whereas Friday Night Lights 2, we never lose.
Yeah.
We go undefeated.
Really, I want to see that movie. Well, I mean, you joke, but remember the Titans? They had to change literally the whole, like, the closest game was that championship game, and they still won by like 30 points.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many games and remember the Titans where it's like, oh, we barely won by a last second touch. It's like, no, you did it.
Yeah.
No, you did it.
That's pretty funny.
There's a record book that shows that you did not lose by or win by only 7.
What's funny is when the opposite is done in movies where, I think of Raging Bull, for example, somebody who is very good at what they do, who is winning all their fights. The conflict then will usually come from their personal life of, relationship drama or family drama of some kind, or if the old movie is old enough, then mafia drama of some kind.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like, whether the message is you can overcome all of that to win and be successful, or winning and success isn't everything when your home life is a wreck. I guess it depends on the movie and how you interpret it.
Rush, Niki Lauda and
Rush
James
is
Hunt
a
both
good
had
one.
personal problems at home, even though they were the top 2 drivers of the 3 years that they raced each other.
Yeah, that is true. And Rush is a good example too, where there really is no underdog. Like, it's established pretty early on that they're both very good at what they do. The only issue they have is that James Hunt is a maniac and Niki Lauda is a dickhead.
There's such polar opposites that it is kind of funny how they were ever friends.
Yeah, seriously.
Really good friends. That brings my question. While we're on the topic of Rush and Remember the Titans, and this also applies to Friday Night Lights. Do you care if a movie stretches the truth? Because Friday Night Lights, it should be said, they didn't lose in the championship game. They lost in the semifinal to Dallas Carter. And they didn't lose the way they lost in the movie. I think it was actually like not as close.
It's so funny that you mentioned that. I remember watching the movie again and thinking that, where I was like, I had to pause the movie and go to Wikipedia because I was like, "What is this? The championship game? I thought they lost."
Yeah, they lost in the second. They lost in the semifinal.
I never noticed that they had made that change. Before.
Yeah. But that asks the question: Does it bother you at all when stuff like that is exaggerated to a degree? Because it's. I mean, we've talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it with the.
We talked about it with Rush too, because Niki Lauda, didn't want anything to do with the movie because he was like, "You guys are over exaggerating it.
Yeah.
I don't care."
And then he actually came out and was like, "All right, that's like 85% accurate."
Yeah.
So yeah, I was that much of a dick.
Irregardless, it doesn't really bother me that much.
Mm.
Here's the thing. Sports, and there's such a good encapsulation of conflict that regardless of how much you change, it will still be engaging regardless. Yeah. There are a lot of other genres where if you try to make it more realistic and you try not to make changes, it can be super boring and unengaging.
Sure.
And I think sports, like somebody who doesn't know the true story of Friday Night Lights, losing a championship game is, more compelling than losing the semifinal game, if that is, technically a more, tragic and dramatic story. No, it doesn't bother me too much, but it depends on the story.
I was gonna say it does. It bothers me because if we're trying to remember these people for what they did or lack of doing, I just feel like you have to be more authentic to the actual events. Like, it's one thing to change social network and the founding of Facebook, because at the essence, they still kept the themes and the story of Mark Zuckerberg as an individual and his kind of like ruthlessness in creating the company. But if we're talking about high schoolers losing a football game, I feel like it's slight disservice to be like, actually, you guys made it to the championship game and not, didn't lose. You guys didn't lose the semifinals.
Yeah.
Like, first off, they didn't though. Like, there's a record book for that. In the case of Remember the Titans, I don't even know what the hell they were thinking with that. It's like, if you want to focus on the conflict, focus on the actual, like characters that are conflicting with one another.
Yeah. There's always that was another trope I was going to bring up, but decided not to. Inter-team conflict as well is always a big part of these movies too. Which
I think that one does it the best because it's, racism and Deep South, or not Deep South, but the South in the 60s. I don't know. It always bothers me. That's the one knock I'll have on sports movies that like try and change facts. Because like we have proof that this is real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why do we need to?
And there's also an argument to be made of this was compelling enough when we were watching it live on TV.
Yeah.
If you're going to make it into a movie, it should still be compelling enough that you don't have to change anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe they made so many changes to the true story in Cars.
Damn, I knew George Jimmy Johnson just didn't have it in him.
Trying to go for his 8th cup, dude.
Yeah, honestly.
All right. Do you have any specific tropes that you are either bothered by or love to see?
I mean, the only one that bothers me the most is the halftime speech that every single movie wants to give. Where it's just like, all right, guys, we're down by 35 points. Let's come back and here's what we're going to do. You guys are going to just believe in yourself. It's like, no.
Are you saying that's not how the Patriots
How about you call a better game plan, coach?
Are you saying believing in themselves is not how the Patriots...
Stop doing halfback dives on first down.
But that's how the Patriots beat the Falcons, is believing in themselves.
No. I also think the lack of showing... Like, sports, there's a luck factor in every sports, in all sports. And I think just having it be chalked up to is like, well, we believed in ourselves. I believed in the guy next to me, and It's like, no. Okay, the ball bounced a funny way. It went to the right or the left. Did a little kooky thing. The defender wasn't able to get to it, and now you guys are able to come back. It's like, just, dig into that, like that. Call it fate or whatever you will, but don't just insult us and be like, it was my teammate and the power of friendship that like it's a damn Mario game or something.
That's why Moneyball is such an interesting movie, because it's like this incredibly almost miraculous stuff will happen on the field, but then they're like, well, no, we have stats to prove that could have happened anyway. It's like
the magic of Moneyball is that the stats aren't always accurate, or like they're not always like, it's not always good. It's not a certainty. Nothing is certain in baseball, especially. And so that 20 game streak that they went on, it was literally like, the hell? You guys are spending like $200,000 on players. Yeah. How the hell are you guys going a 20-win streak? Which is cool.
True story, by the way.
And that it subverts that. That's the only trope I have a problem. I mean, Friday Night Lights, literally the whole TV show is just Eric Taylor walking in. All right, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this, this, and this.
Give the ball to Michael B. Jordan, and you're good.
Yeah. Literally my favorite moment in the whole show is when the coach is like, all right, you know what? We're switching quarterbacks. And the quarterback's like, what the hell? I'm like, yes, that's coaching. There you go. You see it's not working. Change it up. Don't go in there like, all right, guys, we're just going to keep doing what we do, and we're going to do something different. Which I will say, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the show does do that a lot more than the movie, where it's like the coach will walk in and be like, all right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this. We're going to have Smash line up on the outside. Taylor, you're going to do this. Boom, right, whatever. And I like that.
Do you prefer movies to then go more into the inside baseball side of stuff, or do you just want something a lot more accessible? That's what I love about Moneyball so much. Yeah,
no, I definitely enjoy, as a more than casual viewer of the sport, I enjoy like the intricacies. Like, I mean, I watch like chain bear videos of Formula One till like 3 a.m. Just like, whoa, this tire can do this on this track. Stuff like just little stuff like that always excites me. You know, I'll watch like football play-by-plays, just like, whoa, you can do that. I don't know. I always enjoy that more. I enjoy a good training montage.
Yeah.
I enjoy watching scouts yell at Brad Pitt. Coach Carter when he's freaking Samuel L. Jackson's doing Samuel L. Jackson things and just like, all right, here's what we're gonna do, guys. We're gonna do this, this, and this, and if you don't, get your ass out of my gym. Which, by the way, is another subversion of the big game because they lose at the end.
What movie I wasn't paying attention to?
Coach Carter.
Coach Carter?
Yeah.
I haven't
It's the
seen
last second shot and they lose. But the whole message is we got these kids out of the hood.
Ah, I see. Nice.
Yeah.
You see, if you're going to care about the game, you can't have anything else.
Yeah.
But if you have something else, you can't care about the game. That's the main message we're learning today in these sports movies.
Sports are dumb. No, I'm just kidding.
Do you have a favorite example of either an unconventional sports movie or a use of sports in a movie that isn't about sports? I will throw out a personal favorite of mine, the movie Chariots of Fire, which is about Olympic track and field.
Ooh, interesting.
It is a true story. I think it's somewhat historically accurate.
I gotta think. There's a lot. I've seen a lot of sports movies.
It is an absolute classic. And for a movie about track and field in Britain, it is very engaging to watch, I would say, personally. I would recommend it. And then for a use of sports in a movie that is not about sports, I have a Mel Gibson movie called Gallipoli.
Shout out Mel Gibson.
It is the movie is about Australians, the Australian unit in World War One, fighting in the Ottoman Empire. The two main characters are track runners, and stop me if you've heard this before, but it's about having to run to deliver a message in time. It's a little bit of 1917.
Is this ancient Greece?
Yeah. But that's a good example of these two characters who are athletes and how their relationship to each other through the sport transcends and then has consequences within individual fights in World War I in the trenches.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, no spoilers, because that's also a good movie. So
no spoilers here. I can't really think of unconventional sports movies.
I also think a gladiator. Blood sport is a sport. Back in ancient Rome.
Okay, fair enough.
That one has a big game. One of my personal favorites.
Fair enough.
I just want to talk about the movie Gladiator personally.
When are we having our Ridley Scott director breakdown?
He's made too many movies.
Yeah, he really has. So, Ridley Scott, stop already, all right? We want to talk about you on the podcast.
I don't want to watch House of Gucci. Personally.
I can't think of any unconventional
Cool Runnings
sports movies. I will say movies that surprised me that were focuses not of the sport per se, but of the actual characters. I mean, Rush is number one because I was actually really surprised it didn't focus on the season. It focused on the guys themselves.
Yeah.
And their relationship with one another, even though it was heavily exaggerated.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a really interesting take, and I think that's why so many people, especially the F1 community, liked the movie.
I will say that is true in my case because watching it, I was like, I want to see how the season plays out. But then I loved Niki Lauda's character so much that I was like, I could just watch this guy all day.
Yeah, because they would cut away. They would show snippets of them racing at one track, and then they would cut away to the next track. I was like, "What are we? No, I want to watch them race around Monaco.
But this corner is Spa. What are you doing, my guy?
I want to watch them race around Brazil. What are we doing?"
Yeah.
And then I was like, "It's actually not about the racing. It's about just their intense friendship, and now that propelled them to go above and beyond what they thought was possible."
Big Lebowski is another good example.
Okay, now you're just reaching.
21. I mean,
card counting is not a sport. just because poker's on freaking.
Hey, put some respect on World Series of Poker right now.
No, I like playing poker, but it's not a sport. Just because it's on ESPN. I mean, if we're going there, Talladega Nights.
arguably the best NASCAR movie we're ever gonna get.
I think it's
That's
the
for
only
sure.
NASCAR movie we've gotten. Jimmy Johnson life story win.
Yep. I want to see a Dale Earnhardt movie.
I
What
would
are you talking
I would
about? Yeah.
kill to see. I mean, okay, I wouldn't kill to see a Dale Earnhardt, but
No pun intended. So,
Oh, I forgot.
speaking of wanting to see a Dale Earnhardt movie,
Yeah.
we both had this exact same question to ask each other.
We're
Is
starting to get on the same
there
page here, folks.
Any story across the world of sports that you want to see adapted?
First one that came into my mind was Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton 2016.
Really?
That is like drama. You don't even need to. There's a YouTube documentary out there.
The Silver
it's called
Fox?
The Silver Wars or the Silver War. Excuse me. And it talks about how these two guys, like, this was a lifelong rivalry between the two of them, and they were really, really good friends up until 2016. And then Nico was just like, you know what?
I want the championship.
I'm going for it. I want a championship. I want to be an F1 champion. You are now the enemy. By the way, they were teammates at the same motorsport team. I think that is just it's unreal. It's super interesting to me. I would love to see how Mercedes, like, nobody at Mercedes has ever come out and been like, this is what, I mean, Nicky Lauda's alluded to it a little bit. He's talked about the crash at Spain. And how he sat down both of them. But nobody, like Toto hasn't come out. No other executives have come out. Lewis for sure will never come out. I don't think Nico will either. About like the actual just day to day of trying to work in that environment and just seeing a guy across the garage and being like, I am gonna kill you. Not literally, but like mentally, he's just like, I am, like, my job is just to end you.
You know what's interesting about Formula One? Inter-team rivalries are so common, but Drive to Survive drops the ball on it by faking so much of the drama itself. Yeah. Although, to be fair,
well, it doesn't help.
There's not always a lot of drama. But
I was going to say the top teams have an established pecking order now, which is in part because of what happened in 2016. Is like, I mean, the whole reason Valtteri Bottas came into Mercedes, I like Bottas. He's a wonderful driver, wonderful person.
But you need a
But he was
driver.
not on the level of Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
They were not bringing in, a Max Verstappen. They were not going to bring in a Sebastian Vettel to Mercedes.
Or Sergio Perez.
Or Sergio Perez. Yeah, Sergio Perez to Red Bull was another one. It was just, like, these teams, especially at the top, now have an established pecking order of, you are our number 2 driver. You are not competing for a driver's championship, but you're going to help us win the constructors. And I mean, we've seen it, we saw it even before then with Hamilton and I'm blanking. Spaniard. Alonso. Yeah, sorry. Hamilton and Alonso was another rivalry in 2008 that was interesting to watch, or 2007. Yeah, that's number 1 for me.
For me, I was going to say Hamilton's first 2 seasons in Formula One is a story I want to see.
Yeah.
Because his debut season, he loses the championship by 1 point, and then he wins it the next year.
Never
and then
been done
not
before.
Only does he win it the next year, he wins it the last
race.
The last
is that
race,
Glock?
The last corner on the last lap.
Literally the best.
It is like
one of the best endings.
Like to the countdown, like down to the last play, to a T, and that is so incredibly amazing that happened in real life. That the fact that it's understandable that he wouldn't sell his life story rights yet while he's still in the sports because he wants to be an 8-time world champion. However, that's such a good story.
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't even think of that one. That's a good one. Yeah.
And since we're culturally in the mood for it, he is the first black Formula One driver.
Yeah.
And that is...
I mean, that's a big... That in and of itself is a big story.
Yeah. 42 is another good movie about Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Although, I don't know whether that
because it's one thing to be a minority or the first of to do whatever. It's another thing to be, like, elite at what you do. Because then it's like, all right, you actually, like... Yeah. Not to say he didn't belong here. Or, whatever. But, like, damn, you actually showed us that what you're capable of.
Mm-hmm. You would hope that that's most people's reaction.
Yeah,
going
right.
into it.
Yeah.
I don't think that
No,
was the case.
Spain most famously does not like
Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
But
you damn Spaniards.
Hamilton has always been an incredible driver throughout his entire career.
Yes.
And for him to just lose by 1 point and then win the way
come
that he
back,
does,
to have the mental fortitude to come back.
absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
you don't even have to include any of the Spygate stuff. You don't even have to include any of the Rosberg stuff. I just think that those first two seasons of his.
How would you feel about a Red Bull rise from the ashes?
Are you talking specifically about Vettel's?
So, yeah,
or?
like because they won a constructors constructors title and a drivers championship within what, like a decade, right? Something like that. Was 12 years? Because they were started around in the early 2000s. Vettel won in 2010.
I believe so.
That's hard.
Yeah,
especially in a sport that's as cutthroat and as
expensive,
kind of expensive and hard to get into as Formula One for a soft drink company, energy drink company, I should say. Do that it's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say, Red Bull, they have a lot of money. I mean, obviously they have a lot of money and whatever. But I mean, you still have to hire the right people. You have to, look at Ferrari. Ferrari for 15 years didn't know what the hell they were doing, and they're one of the most expensive teams, one of the most profitable teams in the
one of the most
sport.
recognizable teams.
One of the most recognizable teams in the sport. Mm-hmm. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. So yeah, how would you feel about that? Now that we're talking about motorsports,
that would be another good one for inter-team rivalry between Vettel and Webber. Mm-hmm. And that's one that Christian Horner himself has been like, we had to pump the brakes.
Yeah, he's been very open with that, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. That's what we appreciate about you, Christian Horner.
Shout out Christian Horner. I love Christian Horner.
Is there another story you would like to see?
A biopic about Dale Earnhardt would be cool. Now that you said it, we talked about it. I think that'd be interesting because he's arguably, it's him or Mario Andretti as far as American motorsports figures.
Mm-hmm.
Is like the guys.
Yeah.
Maybe you could probably throw in like older guys like Richard Petty.
Yeah.
Trying to think who else. Old NASCAR guys. There's a bunch of old NASCAR guys that you could probably throw in there as well.
Mostly just Richard Petty.
Jeff Gordon, his son Junior. But I think it's Earnhardt was like the top of the top.
Yeah. In
terms of just bringing popularity to the sport.
Yeah. For sure. There is a good YouTube documentary by Emperor Lemon on Earnhardt. If you remember the video I showed you about Talladega, same guy, they went on Earnhardt. It is a bit more of a technical side to his career and how he managed to achieve so much success, like what he could do as a driver. But no, yeah, I think that's definitely a uniquely American sports story to tell for sure. Much more uniquely American than my choice for what I would like to see, which is a Wayne Gretzky biopic.
That'd be a good one.
I don't know if he will ever sell the rights to his life story for that to happen. However, the way that it seems in my head, it would just be so cool to see. Wayne Gretzky. He
would be the Friday Night Lights 2 sequel where he's just killing everybody.
Yeah.
Just show him as a Terminator.
What's funny, too, is I'm like, that would be perfect for Peter Berg.
Yeah.
It has everything that he loves. It has the action and visceralness of hockey. It has the fact that Gretzky was hyper-Christian and gave all of his success to God and not to his actual skill as a player.
Sure.
Despite the fact that he was an incredible player. The only thing not going in Peter Berg's favor is the fact that he's Canadian and not from Texas. So there's nothing...
Can't make a story about that.
Nope.
Can't make a story about that.
Yep, sadly. No, seriously, I think that would be... And it's another interesting story. It would be like if somebody made a story about like LeBron James, for example, going from the Heat to like just changing teams. I completely blanked on the team they ended up moving to.
LeBron James?
Yeah.
From where to where?
He went from the Heat to...
Oh, back to Cleveland.
Back to Cleveland.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, it has, because he went from winning multiple world championships with the Edmonton Oilers to the LA Kings, where I don't believe he won a championship with them. And then he became the coach for the Arizona
Coyotes. Shout out to the
And-
Coyotes.
No,
maybe don't
not shout out the Coyotes.
Maybe don't shout out to the Coyotes.
I don't know. For me, that would be so interesting to see because, and this might just be me personally, but like, it's not an underdog story.
Mhm.
It is a story about a guy who was just insanely good at what he does. He just had an understanding of the game that just far surpassed anybody else who was playing at the time. And although the game has set caught up to his play style and his philosophy, just the fact that his statistics surpass anybody in any other sport across the field. I mean, he is just a monumental athlete, and the fact that
Did the camera die?
I think so.
What the hell? No, it didn't.
Is it still recording?
It's not, but it turned off. All right. Technical difficulties. Sorry about that. Memory is full now.
Memory is full. We've recorded too much information.
Yeah.
I want to see a Wayne Gretzky movie. I think that would be so cool. That's the end of that.
Yeah, I'm looking at these. Looking at top sporting events. Michael Phelps, that'd be an interesting one.
Michael Phelps.
All of his gold medals. 8 gold medals in China. That's insane. The Miracle on Ice. That's already a movie.
That's another. So Miracle is a good example of it's based on a true story, and the underdogs win.
Yeah.
And there's a final big game, but it means so much culturally at the time that you can completely forgive it for having. I mean, yes, it is what happened in real life, so it's hard to call it a cliche in the movie. But since we make movies about those events so much, they are cliches. But it means so much, and it meant so much culturally at the time for the U.S. to beat USSR in the Olympics that it's like you can forgive it for that.
It might be the biggest upset
In the history of
in
sports.
the history of sports. Like
Most likely, yeah.
ever.
Mhm.
It's definitely up there. Yeah, it's interesting.
Especially because the American, like most professional hockey athletes at that time, not really American.
Yeah,
There's a great line in the movie Slapshot where they're introducing a character and they're like, he's a college graduate and he's an American. Like, that was rare
sign
at the time.
him up.
Yeah.
That's
They were all
funny.
either Russian or Canadian.
I'm trying to think of any other movies that I can think of.
Or stories that you would like to see.
Sorry. Because the problem is a lot of these movies that we would want to see are either documentaries.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to see a Michael Schumacher one, but we just watched
We watched
a
the
Netflix documentary. I would love to see a Michael Jordan, but we just watched The Last Dance.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady is doing a documentary right now, which is weird because he's still playing. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. Can you? That like captivated the world.
I was just thinking about stuff that captivated me. That's all that I'm interested in.
Yeah. The 28-6 or the 28-3 comeback that the Patriots had is an interesting one, but it's feels like it's more of a documentary than an actual like narrative.
It will probably be made into a movie at some point in history, though. Don't worry about it.
As long as it doesn't get the Kurt Warner movie treatment. That movie looks god awful.
When are we going to see a esports movie?
Oh god. I don't know, but I'm gonna go for the casting. Be like, watch out, I move my mouse.
That's the entire audition. You just sit there and you're like, you turn your keyboard to the side. They're like, you're hired.
Behind. I'm like calling out call outs. Behind. He's right there. He's
one shot, bro.
185.
He's cracked.
Pog. How well can you say pog? All right, you're in.
You got the part.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else. Is that all for us?
I think that's all for us.
All right, cool.
Join us next week where we will talk about
Something.
Baz Luhrmann's Elvis.
Ooh, don't
no.
excite me with that. All right, folks, we're out of here. Thanks for tuning in this week. We'll see you guys next week.
Good night.
Good luck. Good day. Good night.